Welcome to Read News Today. Carmen Carini was a convicted robber whose weapon of choice in one spree was a machete. He was the son of a locked-up mobster, an absent father who had given him little more than a name. He was also a father himself, starting over in the straight life, a proud and meticulous florist who posted pictures of his Mother's Day arrangements on Facebook. But it was how Mr. Carini's life ended that brought broader attention to his colorful, complicated story, when, on September 2, he was found wrapped in a blue tarp and floating in the Mill Basin inlet of Jamaica Bay, tied to a cinder block intended to weigh his body down. It did not. There may have been any number of possible motives for killing Mr. Carini, 35, tucked in the folds of his, or his father's, criminal history, but the truth remained hidden. Then on November 29, 3 months after the killing, 2 suspects were charged, twin brothers whom Mr. Carini had known for many years. They had been caught halfway across the country after a high-speed chase that ended inside a Walmart. With the charges came the realization that nothing in the history of the victim or his father could have predicted what the police said was his bizarre end at the hand of old friends. Mr. Carini was born in 1982 under a cloud of crime. His father, also Carmen Carini, an associate of the Gambino family, went to prison when his son was 3 years old, convicted of murdering a record store owner. A second son, Vincent, had been born just days before his arrest. In 2007, new evidence would show it was not the elder Mr. Carini but his cousins who had committed the murder. When the elder Carmen was released from prison that year, his namesake son was 24, and Vincent, 22. They had grown up fatherless, in the shadow of what many considered an exemplary display of don't rat on your own fortitude. By then, the younger Carmen was finding his way, for good and bad. Like anyone who grew up without a father, he had to learn his own way to become a man, said Christina Frisn, a girlfriend and the mother of their son. You make mistakes in life, not thinking of the consequences afterward because you're so young. In 2003, when he was 21, Carmen and another man were arrested in Brooklyn for robbing 12 people in 12 different locations in 60 minutes, using a machete to scare their victims, the police said. They stole $500. Mr. Carini served 5 years in prison, coming out in 2009. There would not be a reunion with his father. The year before, unable to hold down a job, the elder Carmen Carini, with others, had committed a series of robberies on Staten Island. They were dressed like police officers and targeted specific types of victims, drug dealers and gambling establishments. I tried my best to be a good citizen for myself and my sons, he told a judge at his sentencing in 2010, according to a court transcript. He had been living with Vincent. Me and my son had a nice apartment and did long-awaited things together. Then I lost my job. Things got worse by the week. He said he had stupidly agreed to commit the robberies, and he wanted to apologize, especially to my sons. He was sent back to prison for 6 more years. On the outside, young Carmen seemed to be making good use of his freedom. He opened a flower shop called Fontainebleau off Avenue North near Mill Basin, happily busy. Chit-chat, people coming, recalled a barber nearby who gave only the name Tony. The owner of a neighboring nail salon who tended to Mr. Carini's eyebrows said he was a good neighbor. I never heard anything bad about him. She wasn't hearing everything. Mr. Carini was in and out of prison 3 times for violating his parole. His absence took a toll, the flower shop closed. In 2015, tragedy struck the Carini family. With his brother and father in prison, Vincent Carini, the younger son, died in his bathroom of a drug overdose. He had injured his back playing football in high school, and an operation did not help. In a storyline that has become grimly familiar in New York and around the country, he was prescribed painkillers and became addicted. The younger Carmen was allowed to attend the funeral, wearing shackles. He was released several months later and seemed ready to go straight. He had a son with Miss Frisn, and he posted proud father pictures. He returned to selling flowers at a pop-up stand he set up before Mother's Day, under a tarp on Strickland Avenue outside a barber shop. That latest stint in prison would be his last. When two lifelong friends, twin brothers, Vincent and Louis Iacono, asked him to move in with them to help with the rent, Mr. Carini agreed. It was a step up from a dark studio where he was living. He said, "I'm going to move into a really nice house. The baby's going to have his own bedroom," Ms. Frisn, their son's mother, recalled. He trusted them. They just took complete advantage of this kid. The brothers worked in construction, their van labeled Julu Contracting. They lived on East 64th Street in Mill Basin, on the working-class edge of a neighborhood known for its mansions. They seemed to do everything in unison, selling furniture on Sundays at a flea market, getting joint haircuts at the barber shop on Strickland. The first time they were arrested, in 2001, they were together, bashing a car with a baseball bat. Vincent Iacono grew to have a long history of drug-related arrests, the police said. Louis Iacono's arrest record is shorter, with most of the cases sealed. Mr. Carini moved into their house on East 64th Street in July. He would be dead in a month. On August 30th or August 31st, Louis Iacono struck Mr. Carini in the head with a hammer inside the house, the police said. The blow was fatal. Investigators believe the attack was over money, the police said. The brothers wrapped Mr. Carini in blue tarp, it appeared to be the one he kept for his pop-up flower stand, and weighed it down with the cinder block and construction materials, the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office said. Surveillance video shows the brothers dumping the body in the water, that office said. Teresa Marchiano, Mr. Carini's mother, said that when she could not reach him, she called Louis Iacono. He said, "Oh, Teresa, he's on his way to rehab," she recalled. "I said, don't lie to me." On September 2nd, someone saw the body bobbing in the water and called the police. It had been underwater for about a day. The brothers left town. 4 days later, a sheriff's deputy in Henry County, Indiana, pulled over a Chevrolet Avalanche for following too closely. The officer approached the truck and observed two men and multiple indicators of criminal activity, the sheriff's office said. He asked the driver, Louis Iacono, to step out, but instead the truck sped away. A 12-mile chase along wide-open fields followed, until Louis Iacono pulled into a Walmart parking lot and dashed inside, shedding clothing along the way. He was arrested, as was his brother, and officers found drugs and bloody hammers in the vehicle, the police said. The brothers were returned last week to Brooklyn, where Louis Iacono was indicted on a charge of murder, and his brother, hindering an investigation. Both were charged with evidence tampering. Their mother works at a hardware store on Avenue L. She declined to comment last week. The brothers pleaded not guilty in court on Thursday. A lawyer representing Vincent Iacono declined to comment. Mr. Carini had told friends and family that he was saving up for a new flower shop. His son is 5. Mr. Carini had hoped the boy would join him when he got older, making it a father and son operation.